Welcome to our new mailbag segment where we answer your questions about the Knicks and the NBA. We'll get started with Triple M What's Up, who asks, roughly 2 months before the NBA trade deadline, what's the sense you get from the Knicks front office, whether they're going to make a big move, a small move, something in between? Well, I'll start off by saying that Leon Rose isn't exactly telling everybody what he's planning to do ahead of February 15th, so getting information out of the Knicks is tough. They keep things close to the vest, but I do know that some decision makers, well, I should say, there are decision makers that have interest in pursuing Myles Turner from Indiana via trade. And, it's interesting because The Athletic reported the other day that Indiana would pivot to a rebuild now and was going to make their players like Turner, Domantas Sabonis, and Karis LeVert available. Turner's been a guy who's been available on and off the past couple off seasons. Teams have felt that he could have been acquired for the right price from Indiana. And now the question is for the Knicks, what is that price? And with regards to bigger stars, Damian Lillard, Karl Anthony Towns, anything's possible, but I think usually you see those moves happen in the offseason, especially when you're looking at players like Lillard and Towns that have several years remaining on their current contracts. Here's one from Lekaj, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Lekaj asks, how real is the Myles Turner chatter? And would a package of Mitchell Robinson, Kemba Walker, or Quentin Grimes and Kevin Knox and a future first be enough for Myles Turner? The chatter is real as far as I know, but I would also assume that the Knicks would have plenty of competition in pursuit of Turner, because I think several teams will be seriously interested in acquiring him via trade. I have to assume that one of the centers is going to have to go in this trade, and Mitchell Robinson seemed to be the most likely one, because if Indiana's rebuilding, I don't know if they'd want to take on a longer-term contract like Nerlens Noel's. Robinson is coming up on unrestricted free agency. And then when you talk about the rest of the package, I would think that it's got to be, one of Obi Toppin or Emmanuel Quickley, if you're talking about satisfying Indiana's needs here. And then I think you're correct to include that future first-round pick. And then if you're looking at, Kevin Knox or, Quentin Grimes, I think maybe Grimes, because you don't know as much about him if you're the Pacers, is a secondary piece in that trade package. But I think, Toppin or Quickley would probably have to be in there. And obviously RJ Barrett too, but I would think you're looking at more of one of the two of those guys. At RodPY2020, who asks about any interest in De'Aaron Fox and notes the Kentucky Kenny Payne comparison. Listen, I'm sure the Knicks and any other team looking for a point guard would be interested in De'Aaron Fox. The question is, does Sacramento want to trade him, and how much would they be asking in a trade for De'Aaron Fox? Then you look at the depth chart in Sacramento, and it's clear they have a bunch of young guards there. They have Tyrese Halliburton, they have Davion Mitchell. So you have 3 young guards, including Fox, and the question is, are you going to pay all those guards to retain them? Who do you want to build around or build with? That's a question that Monty McNair has to answer. If you want to make a big deal and you want to get significant draft capital back, I could see them considering trading Fox. There's been a lot of whispers about Fox in Sacramento long-term. There has been for a couple of years now. So I'm sure that the Knicks and several other teams are going to be monitoring the situation. Just what Sacramento does there in terms of before the deadline, I'm not sure which way they go, but they have a decision to make. That's for sure. I'll take one from All Things Knicks, who could be a family member of Obi Toppin's, because he's been hammering the Knick beat with Toppin propaganda about why Toppin's not playing, why he should be playing. And look, I respect his opinion. I'm just kidding about the Obi Toppin family member thing, but he asks a pretty good question here, and he says, why is it that Obi Toppin is only seeing about 14 minutes a game when he's one of our most efficient players? Now with Toppin, whenever we talk to Tom Thibodeau about it, he references Toppin trying to become a complete player. And he's talking about Obi on defense and his perimeter shooting and all the different aspects of the game. And he says Toppin's done a great job kind of making his way there, but you don't see it in the minutes night in and night out. And so I think one of the things here is the Knicks, in a big picture sense, they have an Obi Toppin, Julius Randle, issue to work out, because Julius Randle, your starting power forward, he's extended. He's here for the next 4 years, at least 5 years, and he's going to take up a lot of minutes at the power forward spot, which Obi Toppin plays. So can you play those two together ultimately as starters? Or do you have to find a different role for Toppin or a different role for Randle? Or is it not possible to have both of those players play significant minutes in a significant role on the same team. It's just an issue the Knicks are going to have to sort through, especially as Obi Toppin continues to emerge here. Now, you can agree or disagree with Thibodeu's reasoning for not playing Toppin, but I do think Randall and his role has to be considered there. At Talking NBA checks in with, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is Tom Thibodeau to be fired as head coach? I mean, but what are we talking about? The guy just won the NBA Coach of the Year award last season, helped the Knicks win 41 games and exceed all expectations. So this team, I get it, they're struggling right now, but in a big picture sense, I think the expectations for this Knicks group shouldn't have been sky high. They should be, with them landing around 500, fighting for one of the bottom seeds in the Eastern Conference, because the East got better. And the Knicks, they made some roster upgrades, but they didn't upgrade the roster in a major way. So, I don't think that you should expect this Knicks team to be a top seed in the East. I think that those expectations are kind of consistent with what the Knicks feel internally. Of course, long losing streaks tend to do strange things to expectations within that organization. So I would say anything is possible, but I don't see it as likely at all that Tom Thibodeau is on the hot seat. That's it for this edition of the Mailbag. Thanks for your questions, everybody. We'll be doing this regularly, so keep those questions coming. You could submit them via all of SNY's social media feeds, and we'll see you again soon.